Good morning. My name is Sabrina Page, and my final case study today will be on sex, bribery, and fraud, the continuing crises for the University of Louisville's men's basketball team. So, a bit of background. University of Louisville was founded in 1798, and it's part of the Kentucky University system. So, it's a public university, and it is the first city-owned university in the United States, public university. So in 2012, the University of Louisville was invited to participate in an opportunity to become part of the prestigious Atlantic Coast Conference, or the ACC, putting it on par with the likes of academic and athletic schools such as Duke, the University of North Carolina, and Virginia. I like to call it the golden times of the University of Louisville's athletic department, because less than 3 years later, in 2015, there are a number of scandals that have shaken the university. So 2015, the year of crises. The first one was millions of dollars in misappropriated funds that have led to the firing and/or resignation of key foundation members. And the other one is sanctions that were put on the Men's Athletic Association, particularly men's basketball, as it pertains to recruiting violations. So we talk about crisis, and what is it? I used Ian Mitroff's definition in 2000 that crises take major tolls on the lives of those involved, extracting tremendous financial earnings, damaging reputations, and impacting the overall well-being of an organization. So what's the problem? I looked at this using Michael Haig's six stages conflict in order to write a successful Hollywood film. So if you see the six-stage plot structure down there, um, basically because this reminded me of a 1988 movie I saw, and I'll get to that at the end. So working on stage one, the setup. So 2012, I've already talked about, UL Athletics was invited to become a member of the ACC. At that time, Rick Pitino had coached the basketball team in the national championship. The football team had won a bowl champion series bowl, which was amazing. And then, of course, the baseball team had made it to the College World Series again. So it was a golden age of athletics for them. Stage two that Haig identifies is a new situation. Put them in a new situation and see how the movie progresses. So 2015, 3 short years later, a book is written by escort Katina Powell that's titled Breaking Cardinal Rules. In her book, Ms. Powell alleges that a U of L staffer paid for strippers and prostitutes to dance and have sex with recruits. Social media response from that book, there's just two here that I identified. One was from Seth Green. Elite coaches are paid like CEOs. If this was a Fortune 500 company, would the CEO be held responsible? What would be the repercussions on the CEO? And then Tim Sullivan asked Ranking Louisville sources if Rick Pitino could survive, and they said probably, but it's going to be tough. That outcome was basically because Pitino had, this wasn't his first crisis that he had been part of. So it was just an interesting look at things. So I identified missed opportunity. Here's the first one. The university could have addressed this issue in an open and honest way, basically told their community that a book has come out. They're going to investigate to see whether the allegations are true, and will release information once all the findings are out, and basically tell its community, and that's its current, past, present, and future students, local businesses, state officials, parents. All of these individuals play a part, but basically tell them that they respect them, and that they're important to them, and so they want to get to the bottom of this because they don't want this scandal to be what the university is known for. And then, of course, missed opportunity number two. Pitino did address this issue during a press conference. He wasn't dressed like this, but did address this in a press conference, and said that if wrongdoing was shown, that they would take ownership. However, when the results did come out, ownership wasn't taken, and actually it led to scapegoating and belligerence and things like that. So, missed opportunity number two, they did acknowledge that the event should never have happened. And like I said, they did quickly move to blaming and stating that once the results came out that the NCAA penalties were too harsh, this would have also provided them a good opportunity to not only acknowledge but apologize, vowing to overcome their current situation and to put into place scanning methods to ensure something like this wouldn't happen again. So stage three, character development. According to Haig, through hardship, Coach Pitino was suspended for the first 5 games of the 2017-2018 season. As we all know, in any situation that we feel is important to us, we tend to take ownership. We tend to take sides. And so many of the U of L fans, because it had been a winning season, they were behind Pitino in every sense of the word. However, if we look on the flip side, had U of L's basketball team been had a losing season, they would have automatically said that he needed to be fired, that they need to get rid of him, that they need to rebuild. So it's an identification of this is what should have happened, this is what could have happened, but didn't. So I also want to put that as a missed opportunity identification as well. So then we go on to stage 4, which Haig calls complications and higher stakes. This was huge, or is huge, because I don't know if you know that in 2017, like literally the end of September, U of L, while not specifically named in it's identified as part of an FBI investigation into corruption on the part of assistant coaches and an apparel company. Basically, we'll take a kickback, make sure that your product is placed, that sort of thing. Finally, after all this time, U of L suspends without pay or fired Coach Pitino once again. So he suspends Coach Pitino. News reports say it's basically a firing. They just haven't put that tone on it. I haven't seen yet. And then they finally decide to put the athletic director, Tim Jurich. It keeps auto-correcting for me. Thanks. Tom Jurich on paid administrative leave until they figure out what's going on, exactly who knew what, and that sort of thing. So this is a continuing crisis. It hasn't ended yet, which means that I can't get to Haig's final stage 4 and stage 5, the final push, nor the aftermath. So that's for a future case study. Yay me, I can do more research. What I do know so far about this is that U of L has hired a new basketball coach, and they have started already. So I just want to continue to follow this case to see where it's going to lead, because it's really interesting to move forward. So some comments and recommendations that I want to make. So throughout this, I've given some missed opportunities to say that University of Louisville could have done something different, should have done something different. If we look at the books that we've read and all the case studies that we've read so far for this semester, they just literally figured that they were untouchable, the men's basketball team. So they were belligerent in their response, which was really sad. So rather than getting ahead of the story, U of L allowed the media, and in particularly social media, to push the narrative for this. Unfortunately, they did not take ownership for the wrongdoing, unlike the other crisis that they had with the misappropriation of funds. They took ownership, they acknowledged, they apologized, that sort of thing. They still, as far as I know, have not apologized for their actions in any way, shape, or form. Pitino's reading was, he never told me. I don't remember. So he hasn't apologized that he was not a better manager. And finally, they really need to work on rebuilding their stakeholder base. Um, and that base would be based on honesty and transparency, providing their stakeholders with the information that they need so that stakeholders can once again trust them. However, with most university athletic programs, as long as the program has a winning season, then people really don't question how they're doing the winning and how they're doing the recruiting. Um, if I can go back real quick, the reason why I talked about the 1988 movie that I watched back in 1988, and the whole reason, my whole purpose of using Haig's model was because a movie entitled Johnny Be Good, Anthony Michael Hall was the lead, was based on the concept that Johnny Walker, much sought after, while this was based on football, we could put this to basketball. Most sought after football, basketball star, heavily recruited. Colleges offer him anything he could possibly want. Girls, cash, cars, free room and board. They even offer to buy him a car with male companions if female companions are not to his liking. So it's basically the plot or the script based off of this movie. So I just thought it would be fun to look at it in a different sort of way because, nothing like real life mirroring the movies. With that said, just checking to see if anybody has any questions. I look forward to seeing your comments, and I will talk to you later.